What if I shared with you that Edgar Cayce, the most extensively documented psychic in America, disclosed precisely what your consciousness undergoes in the first 3 hours following the cessation of your physical existence? And imagine if these insights, documented in more than 14,000 readings, upend everything you believed about death, the afterlife, and your soul's journey. Before we explore these remarkable revelations that will put your beliefs about consciousness and death to the test, please click that subscribe button and activate the notification bell. This knowledge could genuinely reshape your perception of life itself. So don't forget to like this video and pass it along to anyone who might benefit from this insight. Have you ever pondered what happens to your awareness the instant your heart stops? Many individuals spend their lives in fear of the unknown, yet Cayce's insights offer remarkable understanding of those vital first moments when your soul shifts from a physical to a spiritual state. In just a few minutes, I will share 3 surprising revelations from Cayce's documented sessions that will transform your perspective on death, awareness, and what lies ahead for each of us after we pass. Edgar Cayce, from his humble workspace in Virginia Beach, Virginia, entered profound trance states over 14,000 times during his lifetime, channeling knowledge that was later carefully recorded by the Association for Research and Enlightenment. However, nothing could have prepared his stenographer, Gladys Davis, for the details she noted during reading 52784, where Cayce vividly described what occurs to human consciousness right after physical demise. Based on Cayce's accounts, as soon as your physical body ceases to function, your soul does not instantly move toward the light, contrary to popular belief. Rather than a simple process, something much more intricate and captivating takes place during what Cayce referred to as the transition period. But hold on. This is where it truly becomes astonishing. Cayce disclosed that during the initial hour following death, your consciousness continues to be linked to your physical form via what he described as the silver cord. This mystical bond, referenced in ancient literature and validated through Cayce's psychic insights, ensures that your awareness remains anchored to the material world, while your soul readies itself for the next stage of its journey. Picture it like this. Picture yourself relocating to a new house. You don't simply materialize in your new place. Instead, there's a phase where you pack up, bid farewell, and get ready for the journey ahead. This is precisely what Cayce illustrated regarding consciousness following death. While discussing passage 136.8.3, Cayce was specifically inquired about this transitional phase. He described a phenomenon he referred to as a review state for the soul, during which consciousness starts to evaluate the recently concluded life. However, what surprised even the closest colleagues of Cayce was that this review isn't the intense, life-reeling experience often mentioned in near-death situations. Rather, it involves a serene and systematic reflection on lessons learned, opportunities overlooked, and spiritual progress made. In a short span of 2 minutes, I'll present a recorded account of a woman who shared insights into her experiences during her transition and how this understanding aided her family in coming to terms with her tranquil departure. Cayce's interpretations consistently depict the second hour following death as a time of liberation. This is the moment when the silver cord starts to break down, allowing consciousness to begin its separation from earthly matters. Referencing readings 2067 and 1, during this period, the soul recognizes the presence of deceased loved ones, leading to what Cayce termed reunion consciousness. However, this brings a significant shift in our perception of death and spiritual bonds. Cayce disclosed that in this second hour, the departing soul retains the ability to interact with living family members, albeit not via spoken language or physical signs. Rather than conventional means, communication happens via what he referred to as heart consciousness, a direct connection between souls that surpasses physical boundaries. This clarification accounts for why numerous individuals claim to sense the presence of departed loved ones right after they die, or receive what they perceive as signs or messages. Based on Cayce's readings, these occurrences are not merely imaginative or a result of hopeful thinking. They represent genuine spiritual exchanges taking place during this pivotal transition phase. A notable instance is the case of Mrs. Sarah Henderson, preserved in the ARE archives, which exemplifies this phenomenon perfectly. When Mrs. Henderson's spouse died in 1943, she felt his presence so intensely that she could perceive his emotions and even gain advice on practical issues. Upon seeking a reading from Cayce regarding this phenomenon, reading 1472-2 affirmed that her husband was communicating with her during his transition, offering solace and resolution for both of them. Additionally, reading 254-68 disclosed information that astonished even his stenographer. The third hour following death is when the soul makes its ultimate decision regarding its next stage of existence. This process is not about external judgment from a divine entity, but rather about the soul's own spiritual preparedness and cosmic requirements. In this critical hour, which Cayce referred to as the selection period, the consciousness evaluates its complete soul history by accessing what he called the Akashic records. These records, which Cayce described as the Book of Life, comprise every thought, action, and experience from all the incarnations of the soul. However, there's an even more extraordinary aspect to this process. Cayce's readings indicated that during this third hour, the soul doesn't merely go over its past lives in a haphazard manner. Rather, it focuses on specific patterns, relationships, and lessons that are pertinent to its upcoming stage of spiritual growth. Consider it from this perspective. Picture yourself as a student reflecting on your academic journey while deciding on your next field of study. You wouldn't merely skim through random textbooks. Instead, you would focus intently on the subjects you performed well in, the areas that posed challenges, and the skills that require further enhancement. This mirrors what Cayce articulated regarding the experience during the third hour post-death. The most thoroughly explored instance of this phenomenon is found in reading 294-189, where Cayce detailed a soul that had transitioned and was faced with the decision of either being immediately reincarnated to address specific karmic obligations or staying in the spiritual realm to assist other souls as a guide. The reading indicated that this decision was made during the third hour post-physical death, influenced by the soul's evaluation of its spiritual growth and opportunities for service. This insight radically alters our perception of death, shifting it from a passive occurrence to an active, conscious endeavor in which the soul retains full control over its spiritual path. According to Cayce's readings, following these initial 3 hours, the soul enters what he referred to as the adjustment period. This phase can last from several days to several years in earthly time, contingent on the soul's level of spiritual advancement and its attachment to the physical world. In his reading 147-21, Cayce described that souls who have led materially focused lives with deep ties to physical possessions, relationships, or achievements face longer adjustment phases. These souls typically linger in what he termed the borderland, a spiritual realm situated near the physical plane, allowing them to gradually let go of their earthly attachments. In contrast, those who cultivated a strong spiritual awareness during their lifetimes, through practices like meditation, prayer, helping others, and intentional spiritual growth, experience a much quicker transition through the adjustment phase and ascend to higher spiritual realms. This is where Cayce's teachings turn actionable for your present life. He repeatedly stressed that the way we conduct our physical existence has a significant bearing on our death experience and subsequent spiritual transition. The level of conscious spiritual growth we attain during our lifetime greatly influences the ease and grace of our transition. However, there is an even deeper insight that Cayce shared about this journey. As indicated in reading 3744-4, the adjustment phase involves not only the letting go of earthly attachments, but also marks the beginning of the soul's comprehension of its genuine spiritual identity and mission through various lifetimes. During this time, souls typically encounter what Cayce termed expanded awareness, allowing them to recognize their connections to other souls they have interacted with throughout numerous incarnations. This encompasses realizing the spiritual significance behind their earthly relationships, whether they are positive or challenging. The recorded instance of Dr. Wesley Ketchum, an early advocate for Cayce, exemplifies this concept in a compelling way. Following Dr. Ketchum's death, his widow sought insight into his spiritual state. In the reading 5756-4, it became clear that Dr. Ketchum was gaining a deeper understanding of his soul's purpose throughout various lifetimes, particularly his involvement in advancing Cayce's work in the United States. This reading indicated that Dr. Ketchum's soul was intentionally opting to further assist in spiritual healing and the expansion of consciousness from beyond the physical realm, illustrating that death does not conclude our contributions to humanity, but instead transforms them into a different form. Now, prepare yourself for some astonishing revelations regarding Cayce's findings about consciousness after we pass away. In the reading 1158-5, it was revealed that during the adjustment phase, souls can actually affect occurrences in the physical realm through what he termed spiritual magnetism. This concept does not pertain to ghosts or hauntings. Instead, it highlights the soul's capacity to draw in circumstances and individuals that aid in the spiritual development of those who are still alive. Cayce illustrated this with the example of Mrs. Anna Campbell, who, following her death in 1934, was able to steer her daughter toward meeting her future spouse through a sequence of seemingly random events. The reading indicated that Mrs. Campbell's consciousness was functioning from the spiritual dimension to guarantee her daughter's karmic lessons and soul evolution progressed in accordance with the divine plan. This occurrence sheds light on why numerous individuals report experiencing significant coincidences or receiving unexpected assistance during periods of mourning or significant life changes. Based on Cayce's insights, these occurrences are not coincidental. They represent intentional spiritual support from souls who have passed on but maintain connections with their earthly loved ones through love and service. Even more astonishing is that Cayce's insights indicate a structured system of spiritual assistance within the afterlife realms. Those souls who have attained higher levels of spiritual growth during their time on Earth take on roles as spiritual guides or guardian angels for those still living in physical form. In reading 262.8 sign, it's explained how these advanced souls create spiritual councils that supervise the growth and safeguarding of incarnated souls. These councils function in accordance with universal principles of spiritual evolution, guaranteeing that each soul encounters precisely the experiences and opportunities required for its advancement in consciousness. The situation involving young Tommy Henderson, as detailed in ARE files, exemplifies this system of spiritual guidance. At the age of 7, Tommy confronted a life-threatening illness, and during this time, his grandmother, who had passed away 2 years prior, started appearing in his dreams, providing him with detailed instructions regarding healing herbs and dietary adjustments. When Tommy's mother sought a reading from Cayce about these dreams, reading 35641 confirmed that Tommy's grandmother was indeed offering healing guidance from beyond. By following his grandmother's spiritual insights, along with Cayce's recommendations for physical healing, Tommy managed to make a miraculous recovery that left his doctors astonished. This case illustrates how the consciousness of deceased loved ones can collaborate with spiritual healers like Cayce to promote healing and protection for those who remain in the physical world. Here's another astonishing insight from Cayce's readings that fundamentally alters our perspective on the connection between life and death. Based on readings from 1947 to 2003, the experiences of the soul in the initial 3 hours after death are shaped by the spiritual beliefs and practices fostered during physical existence. Souls that engaged in meditation, prayer, and spiritual exploration while alive undergo what Cayce referred to as a conscious transition. They maintain full awareness and control throughout the dying process. Such souls have the ability to aid other transitioning souls, thus forming a network of spiritual support across various dimensions. In contrast, souls that have led entirely materialistic lives without any spiritual growth or belief in an existence beyond death encounter what Cayce referred to as spiritual confusion during the transition phase. These individuals typically need help from more enlightened souls to comprehend their new reality and to traverse the spiritual realms. This is the reason Cayce consistently underscored the significance of spiritual preparation throughout one's life, rather than only at the moment of death. He asserted that regular spiritual practices generate what he termed spiritual momentum, which facilitates a seamless passage of consciousness through the death experience and into a broader awareness. The consistency of Cayce's insights regarding death is particularly remarkable, as they have remained stable across thousands of readings conducted over a span of more than 40 years. Regardless of whether he discussed recent passings or souls from long ago, the same spiritual themes consistently emerged. These insights suggest that death should not be viewed as an end, but rather as a graduation, an evolution from one stage of spiritual education to the next. The initial 3 hours following death are seen as a time for the final assessment, during which the soul reflects on its lessons and decides on its future path of spiritual growth. Additionally, Cayce's insights indicated that the process of dying is entirely natural and meant to be serene when properly understood. As indicated in reading 136-18, the fear surrounding death stems from the soul's recollections of challenging transitions in previous lives, rather than any intrinsic peril associated with the death experience itself. This is the reason why Cayce consistently urged individuals to enhance their spiritual awareness through meditation, prayer, and altruistic actions. These activities not only enrich the quality of physical existence, but also facilitate a conscious and smooth transition during death. The practical aspects of these teachings are significant. If you are mourning the loss of someone dear, Cayce's readings bring solace in the understanding that your loved one's consciousness persists and that the bond between souls survives beyond physical demise. Should you be confronting your own mortality, whether due to illness, aging, or simply the natural reflection on death, Cayce's teachings provide a guide for intentional preparation that can change fear into a sense of optimism for ongoing spiritual development. However, there is an even more remarkable insight that Cayce shared regarding the process of preparing for death, which is often overlooked by many. In his reading 16-33, He outlined particular spiritual practices that individuals can engage in while alive to cultivate a conscious awareness during the transition of death. These practices, referred to by Cayce as death preparation meditations, require individuals to engage in deep meditation regularly that promotes the separation of consciousness from physical sensations. By training themselves to temporarily detach their awareness from their bodily experiences while still living, souls can acquire the spiritual abilities essential for maintaining awareness throughout the death experience itself. Cayce conveyed that those who excel in these methods can actually influence both the timing and the nature of their own passing. Collaborating with their spiritual guides, individuals aim to ensure that their transition benefits everyone involved. This process doesn't concern suicide or untimely death, but focuses on mindful alignment with inherent spiritual principles. A notable example illustrating this concept is the case of Sarah Mitchell, detailed in reading 1523-17. Mrs. Mitchell, who dedicated years to studying Cayce's teachings and engaged in daily meditation, consciously selected the timing of her passing while facing a terminal illness. Her family noted that she became serene and clear-headed, using her final hours to impart spiritual wisdom to her children and grandchildren before peacefully transitioning exactly as she had foreseen. This specific approach to preparing for death signifies the pinnacle of spiritual development based on Cayce's insights. It highlights the potential to view death as a celebratory transition rather than an intimidating unknown. This aspect of Cayce's teachings is especially pertinent for contemporary Americans grappling with society's trepidation surrounding death. Contrary to Eastern philosophies, which prioritize being ready for death, Western societies frequently shy away from acknowledging death until it becomes unavoidable. Cayce's insights serve as a conduit for American spiritual seekers to reconnect with ancient knowledge regarding conscious dying. As noted in reading 5749 Mark 3, the predominant fear of death among many in Western culture can be attributed to a disconnection from their spiritual essence throughout life. When a person perceives physical existence as the sole reality, death is viewed as total destruction instead of a spiritual transition. Cayce consistently emphasized that engaging in regular spiritual practices, such as meditation, prayer, serving others, or exploring spiritual teachings, gradually elevates awareness of its eternal essence. This awakening changes the entire perception of death from a source of fear to an anticipated new beginning. For individuals seeking to enhance their spiritual awareness, Cayce's teachings offer clear advice on practices that facilitate both earthly spiritual growth and a conscious transition when the time arrives. The Association for Research and Enlightenment in Virginia Beach continues to safeguard and examine these extraordinary teachings, making them accessible to anyone desiring a deeper insight into consciousness, death, and spiritual growth. What stands out particularly about the revelations surrounding Cayce's death is their connection to contemporary research on near-death experiences and studies of consciousness. Researchers such as Dr. Raymond Moody, who popularized the term near-death experience, have documented numerous cases that strikingly reflect Cayce's accounts of consciousness enduring beyond physical death. The alignment between Cayce's insights from the early 20th century and current consciousness investigations offers strong evidence suggesting that death is not the conclusion of awareness, but a transition into a broader state of consciousness. As we conclude our examination of Edgar Cayce's insights regarding the initial 3 hours post-death, it is essential to note that this information is intended not to inspire fear or anxiety, but to foster understanding and preparation for one of life's most critical transitions. Cayce consistently highlighted that death is as natural as birth, and that individuals who approach life with spiritual awareness, compassion, and a commitment to serving others perceive death as a beautiful graduation ceremony, rather than a frightening uncertainty. The cases and readings we've examined today are merely a small part of the knowledge that Cayce shared regarding consciousness, death, and spiritual growth. His full readings, which can be accessed through the ARE archives, delve even further into the essence of the soul's existence and spiritual progression. Whether you are looking for solace in times of grief, getting ready for your own transition, or are simply inquisitive about what consciousness entails beyond physical death, Cayce's teachings present a meaningful and well-documented view that has inspired and provided clarity to millions around the globe. If this information has expanded your perspective on consciousness and mortality, we encourage you to subscribe to our channel and activate the notification bell so that you don't miss our future videos that delve into more of Edgar Cayce's extraordinary insights on spiritual growth, healing, and the essence of human consciousness. Please give this video a thumbs up if it was valuable to you, and share it with anyone who might gain from understanding these significant truths about life, death, and spiritual existence. Your assistance enables us to keep sharing these vital spiritual teachings with those open to receiving them. It's important to remember that, based on Edgar Cayce's insights, each soul embarks on a path of spiritual growth that extends well past physical existence. Grasping this journey can revolutionize our attitude towards death and influence how we opt to live our daily lives with enhanced purpose, empathy, and spiritual insight.